So he paid in full cash and got the discount. So it's a very smart move. So cash buys you discounts. So when we're going to these people and they have a house free and clear, well, I'll give you your price, terms, or I'll give you my price, cash. But in this particular case, there's no cash option. So based on the numbers and based on what he owes, this is a property that I would honestly offer him next to nothing, very little. He's already walked away from it, assuming he's on board. He's already walked away from it. And again, in this particular property, we already know that he's $55,000 behind. So let's say that he was still in line. Let's say that he was only, if ARV is 174, let's say that he was only like $8,500 in arrears. Let's say this is his to bring things current, and let's say that he owes $200K is what his debt is. So I know that even though ARV is 174, I can still make this work at $200,000, especially with an $8,500 reinstatement fee. I can still make some money here. It doesn't change what I'm going to offer him, though. Because in his mind, he's upside down. There's nothing he can do with it. That's why he's walked away.
So is there a threshold in your mind or a rule of thumb you use to say it's this much underwater? The only option is foreclosure defense versus...
No, underwater has nothing to do with it. It all has to do with how far behind are they in payments. Yep.
And the payment, right?
10%, yep.
And his payment.
And his payment. That is very true. Yeah.
You have to know that. So what you're selling to can afford to pay.
Exactly right.
You can't sell a house.
Yep.
So when you go to turn around and sell it, even if the debt is double what the ARV is, if you can somehow structure it with a payment that works for them, you're going to sell
Yep.
it.
That's exactly right. And that leads us to step number 5. What is step number 5? Market. So that's what we're talking about today.
Basically, as long as you can get a payment from your buyer that's higher than what you're paying out in a down payment.
It's a workable deal. I know what I want to make monthly. Once I know my number monthly, once I have under the evaluation, I go, okay, I have their payment stubs here. I know exactly what they're paying to the bank. I just add whatever I want to make on top of that and do my math backwards and market for that. See how the pieces are starting to come together now? It's super easy. Once you do it this way, you're like, oh man, it's simple. How come I didn't think about this? So what's step 6? Close, man. Collect the money. So we're going to fill in these markets here right now for you. Any questions on what we've learned thus far today? Not today, but like up until today. Any clarification you want to have on steps 1, 2, 3, or 4 up until now? Okay, yeah.
So I was just asking. So just clarification on the 10%.
Okay.
So it's like, for example, in this situation, the debt's $200, right? So you want to change that, so you're going to offer the buyer, a new buyer,
Ah, yes.
210. So I'm going to give it to you for 210. So that's your 10%.
No. Good question. Very good question. So his debt's $200,000. I want to make money on it. I obviously have to bring this thing current. What would you do? What would you structure it at? How would you make money on that?
On the down payment, you can even sell it for $200 and make money on this. You have the $200, right? And then you get $20,000 upfront from your seller. That's 10% of 200, and in arrears it's $8,500. That's $11,500 you got on the down payment, right? Or you bump that up to 210, and then you make money on the interest, right?
I'll make money on the interest, no matter, regardless. You're thinking in the right area, but you don't quite got it right yet. So this is fine. This is good. Any other suggestions?
So, okay, so this would be the Roby house.
Right, it would be. Except you're going to keep it.
You want to keep this house?
You're going to keep it. You're not going to just assign it away.
So would you guys ask for 10% down at the ARV and then try to sell it to them at 210 still?
Well, here's the problem, guys, is if you, let's say that you did this at 210 and you collected $20,000 or even $21,000, you paid this off, you still have this debt here. So any equity that you get, it really isn't equity. It has to go towards the debt. You have to create the equity in order to accept and create and take the equity.
So we gotta sell it for more,
You have to sell it for more.
because that's the retail price of that.
So what I would do, so this is how I would market this thing, because this is the marketing thing, is I would be selling it at, no, 220. 220, collect 22 down. Again, they don't care what it's worth. All they care about is what they can afford, monthly payments. I get $20,000. Now, if the house is trashed, so here's the thing too. I'm going to teach you this in the formal training, but I might even go 225 just to test the market out, because you can always come down. It's very difficult to go back up. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to say, hey, it's 225 for this house. I'm looking for 22.5 down. I'll give you a credit. They go inside like, oh man, the carpets are this. I'm going to have to do this, and I got to clean this stuff out. No problem, guys. I'll give you
5,000.
I ask them, well, how much do you think it's going to cost to do that? And I might have said, like in my mind, it's probably about $5,000. 3 or 4? Let's split the difference. Let's call it $3,500. I gave them a $3,500 credit, and I just made $1,500.
And that doesn't affect the resale value. It doesn't affect what the county sees as the sale price, so that.
They'll never see it.
That equity is still there.
That's right.
So they'll never see that because what you've done is in
It's a contract.
contract with subject to.
So we're going to talk in marketing and closing. We're going to talk about how to close, how you're actually selling the property, because this is all about buying. You're buying it up to here. You're buying it. Once you
Right.
market for your buyer,
So
you switch roles.
the 10%, okay, is we need to increase the equity.
Yeah, you need to create equity. You need to
By
become.
creating equity,
You
right?
create equity out of thin air.
Right.
You're now the Fed.
So I'm creating equity, right? So I'm raising that price,
Yeah.
and in this situation here, I'm marketing for 2.25. Okay, so I've created about 25K in equity.
That's right.
I'm sorry, but I'm trying to grab my head around.
Nothing to be sorry about. You're totally fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That 10%,
So 10% of this new sales price
right,
is $22,500.
okay. So
Ten
that would
percent's
be-
an arbitrary number, that's just what you decided you wanted to make on it.
Yeah.
It's not a set in stone, it's not a predefined anything. I wanna make 10%, okay, that's where that.
But that
Okay, so that's what
10%
I want.
he uses that as a rule of thumb for the arrears. So if the 10% is less than the arrears, he's not going to do that.
This guy could come in and say, hey, so keep in mind here, and we're going to get into this in greater detail. I've inflated purchase price. What else am I inflating?
Down?
The monthly payment.
Oh, okay, that's right.
So let's just say that here, his monthly payment, let's just say we don't even know. Let's just say it's $1,600. So I'm going to start off with, let's say $1,850.
And test that market.
Yeah, I'm gonna get $250 on this door. But let's say this guy comes to me, he's like, hey man, I got $30,000 down. Is there any way you can work with me on that monthly payment? You know what? I don't know. Let me ask my partner. You know, we have a mortgage on this thing. Let me ask my partner and see what we can do and we can work out. Let me get back to you.
That buys you time.
But if I go to my partner and he agrees and he agrees that this we can do this, do you have that $30,000 to make a decision today? Because I don't want to go to him and do this and negotiate on your behalf and have him tell me yes, and you come back and you tell me you can't do it. You see what I'm doing there?
At that point, do you ask for proof of funds from that?
No, I don't ask for proof of funds.
Okay. So usually.
I don't have to ask because I just put the pressure back on him. If I ask this, can you close tomorrow? If he says yes. No, I just was saying. If he says yes, I got the money. Then guess what? I'm gonna come back and I might give him a cut, dude. I mean, shoot, $1,700, $1,750. I'm still cash flowing it. I got an extra 10 grand in my pocket.